Right, so we're in the middle of August and there's a few gaps appearing around the allotment now as things are getting harvested. There's also a few jobs to do too, so this time we're gonna crack on and get some of that done. Now in here I had a crop of lettuce and they've finished now, but I'd still like to use the space before the autumn comes proper, so I might plant a bit of spinach. I mean, I could try some late radish or salad as well, but I'll get a crop of spinach in. It'll germinate and be up and unharvested before it gets cold. So well, let's get on with it, shall we? Because half the fun of digging over or raking over an allotment like this is what you find, really. You always find bits of willow pattern plate. I think old garden must have broken lots of cups and saucers out here. Massive nails, bits of old pot, and where is it now? There's this massive tack. Look at this. It must have been, I don't know what that was holding together. It's like the tack from hell. It's quite exciting, so very good. Right, so what we're going to do is sow some Mikado F1 spinach. That's a bunching spinach. I can sow it in August and I can harvest it right through till October. So I reckon we can get some of that in. So let's get this sown. Now this doesn't have to be anything too fancy. If I were doing bigger rows of vegetables, I'd get a string line out and do something a bit more fancy, but right now I'm only just chucking this in as a little adventitious crop, so we'll just pull a little row out across there. Just a bit of a test to see how good your eye is and whether you can get a reasonably straight row. And that's all we need to do for that. Pull that out. If you want to be really lazy, you can actually just use the back of the hoe. Just lay it down and walk along it. For heaven's sakes, don't show any old gardeners this, they'll get very upset, but you can just use that as a little furrow and it's nice and straight. So whichever you want to do, whichever you find easiest. Don't make hard work of this stuff. It's supposed to be fun, and as long as you get the results, then who cares? So now it's time to sow our seeds. Now, as I mentioned, we're going to do a little spinach here, a Mikado. Now let's just show you how to do this. Now put a few seeds into the palm of your hand. And the easiest way to do it is to take a pinch between your thumb and forefinger, and as you go up and down the row, just gently rotate your thumb and forefinger and one seed will drop out at a time. And it's actually really controllable and a really nice simple way to sow seeds, and you can very quickly recharge your fingers and just carry on along the row. I would be very generous with the seed. You can always thin it out afterwards, but it's a bit of a devil when there's huge great gaps. So use all the seed, fill the row up nicely, and then we can thin it out a little bit later. I'm just dropping a seed every centimetre or so. As I say, it's going to be a very generous row because I do want I would really want the seeds to establish well. I don't want to have to come back and fill up the gaps. And I'll thin those out once they've come through. So having marked the rows and got the seeds covered, I'm just going to gently compact the soil over the top of the row, and that'll just get the soil in contact with the seed so that they get nice and damp. They're in a perfect position to germinate and get away nice and quickly. So here's a classic problem in potatoes, potato blight. Now the tops are starting to die back, they're browning off. It's very characteristic of this disease. Now potato blight is actually a problem with potatoes in store. So the fungal spores on the tops of the potatoes get on the tubers as you lift them, then you put the whole lot in store and then the potatoes rot. So a really simple organic solution is to take all the tops away, bag them, throw them away, don't stick them in the compost heap, then don't touch the spuds for 2 weeks. The spores will dry off and die, and then when you lift your spuds, the spores won't affect the tubers, and then you won't transfer the disease into store. Very simple. Okay, so exciting times. We're going to harvest the broad beans and then I'm going to take them home, shell them and freeze them for the winter. So let's crack on. Well, okay, that's got them all picked. They're looking good, so I guess we might as well clear the plants now as well. Now I've actually finished with this bit of the allotment for this year. I've harvested the crops and cleared them away, but there's still a lot of nutrition in the soil which I'd like to preserve for next year, and I don't want it leached out over the winter. So I'm going to use something called a green manure. Now this is vetch, ryegrass, forage peas. You can buy packs of the stuff, and you literally sow it onto the ground. The nutrients in the soil are picked up by the growing plant and locked in there, so they're literally locked into the plant through the winter. The next year you can chop those up, dig them in, and as they decompose they release their nutrients for next year's crops. So it's just a clever way of hanging on to your nutrition through the winter. It also increases the sort of bulky organic matter in the soil. It's a great soil conditioner. So well, let's get it done. Right then, I'll get all these various seeds watered in and I'll see you lot next time.